The question came in the middle of the lunch rush. 5 simple words that stopped everything. A little girl's voice, clear and innocent, cutting through the noise of Maplewood Diner like a bell. "Can you be my new mommy?" The waitress froze. The coffee pot in her hand trembled, and behind the child, a man in an expensive suit stood perfectly still, his face showing something between hope and absolute terror. This is the story of how one question changed 3 broken lives forever. Thomas Chen hadn't planned to come to Maplewood. The small town in upstate New York was 2 hours from Manhattan, worlds away from his corner office at Chen Technologies. But his daughter Lily had been asking for pancakes. Real pancakes, she'd said. Not the ones their housekeeper made. Not the ones from the fancy brunch place near their penthouse. Real pancakes, like Mommy used to make. Thomas didn't tell her that her mother had never made pancakes. That Emily had been too sick those last 18 months to do much of anything. That toward the end, she couldn't even hold Lily without help. He just got in the car and drove. Away from the city. Away from the apartment that still smelled like hospital. Away from the concerned looks of colleagues who thought 3 months was enough time to move on. Lily was quiet in the back seat. She was always quiet now. The 5-year-old who used to narrate every thought had learned to keep things inside. Thomas caught glimpses of her in the rearview mirror, small hands folded in her lap, brown eyes watching the world pass by. She looked so much like Emily it hurt. He'd found her that morning in Emily's closet, wrapped in one of her mother's sweaters. She hadn't cried, hadn't said anything, just looked at him with those eyes that had seen too much. The child psychologist said it was normal, that grief in children often looked different, that he needed to be patient. But patience was hard when your daughter barely spoke anymore, when she flinched at loud noises, when she woke up crying for a mother who couldn't come. Maplewood appeared like something from a postcard. Main Street lined with maple trees, their leaves just starting to turn gold, mom and pop shops with hand-painted signs, people who waved at strangers. The kind of place Thomas had left behind when he built his company, the kind of place he'd promised Emily they'd retire to someday. The diner sat on the corner of Main and Oak, red vinyl booths, checkered floor, a bell that rang when you opened the door. Lily's eyes lit up for the first time in weeks. "It looks like the movies, Daddy." Her voice was so quiet he almost missed it. "Yeah, sweetheart, it does." The lunch crowd was starting to thin when they walked in. A few locals at the counter, an elderly couple sharing pie. Thomas guided Lily to a booth in the back, away from the windows, away from the stares he'd gotten used to. The single father with the too quiet child, the widower who clearly didn't know what he was doing. He was studying the laminated menu when the waitress appeared. "Hey there, I'm Rachel. What can I get started for you folks?" Thomas looked up and saw her really smile. Not the professional smile he got from his assistant. Not the pitying smile from his mother-in-law. A real smile that reached her eyes. She was probably in her early 30s. Dark hair pulled back. Simple uniform. Name tag slightly crooked. And when she looked at Lily, something in her expression shifted. Softened. "Pancakes," Lily whispered. "Please." "Pancakes are our specialty," Rachel said, crouching down to Lily's level without being asked. "A blueberry, chocolate chip, or plain?" Lily's eyes widened. "Chocolate chip. Best in town. I'll make sure the cook adds extra chips. That okay?" Lily nodded, actually nodded. Thomas felt something crack in his chest. "Coffee for me," he managed. "Black." Rachel stood, but her eyes lingered on Lily. "Coming right up." Thomas watched her walk away. There was something in the way she'd looked at his daughter. Recognition, maybe, or understanding. Something he hadn't seen in anyone else who'd tried to interact with Lily since Emily died. The diner was quiet now, just the soft murmur of conversation, the clink of silverware, the hiss of the grill. Thomas pulled out his phone, intending to check his email. but he found himself watching Rachel instead. She moved through the diner like she belonged there, refilling coffee, chatting with the cook, laughing at something an old man at the counter said. But he noticed other things too. The way her smile never quite reached her eyes. The way she touched the locket at her throat when she thought no one was looking. The way she paused, just for a second, whenever she passed their booth, like she was gathering herself. Lily was drawing on her paper placemat with the crayons Rachel had brought. Thomas couldn't see what she was making. "What are you drawing, sweetheart?" She didn't answer, just kept coloring with fierce concentration. Thomas's phone buzzed, his COO, probably about the merger. He sent it to voicemail. Lily looked up. "Are you mad, Daddy?" "No, baby. Why would I be mad?" "You always look mad now." The words hit like a punch. Thomas put his phone away. "I'm not mad, I'm just tired." "Me too." Her voice was so small. "I miss Mommy." "I know, I miss her too." Rachel returned with their order. Stack of pancakes with chocolate chips arranged in a smiley face. Coffee so fresh it steamed. She set them down carefully, like they were precious. "Here we go. One special order of chocolate chip pancakes." Lily stared at the plate, at the smiley face made of chocolate chips. "My mommy used to do that," she said quietly. Rachel's hand trembled, just slightly, just enough for Thomas to notice. "Yeah?" Her voice was soft. "Your mommy sounds like she was pretty special." "She was." Lily's eyes filled with tears. "But she's gone now." Thomas started to reach for her, but Rachel beat him to it. She crouched down again, eye level with Lily. "I bet she loved you very much." "She did. She told me every day." "Then you know what? That love doesn't go away. Even when people do, it stays right here." Rachel touched Lily's chest, over her heart. "Forever and ever." Lily looked at Rachel like she'd just revealed a secret. "Really? Really, I promise." Thomas couldn't speak, couldn't move. This stranger was saying things the child psychologist had tried to say. Things he'd tried to say. But somehow, coming from Rachel, Lily believed them. Rachel stood, wiping her eyes quickly. "I'll let you enjoy your breakfast. Holler if you need anything." She walked away before Thomas could thank her. Before he could ask how she knew exactly what to say, Lily picked up her fork, and for the first time in 3 months, she ate without being prompted. Thomas watched his daughter devour pancakes, chocolate smeared on her cheek, and felt tears sting his eyes. One act of kindness from a stranger. That's all it had taken. They stayed for 2 hours, long after the plates were cleared, long after the check came. Thomas ordered pie, then coffee, then more coffee, because Lily was coloring and humming, actually humming. And every time Rachel passed their booth, Lily would look up and smile, small smiles, shy smiles, but smiles. Rachel would pause, ask about her drawing, admire the latest creation. She never rushed them, never made them feel like they were taking up space, just kept their water glasses full and their daughter feeling safe. Thomas started to relax, to breathe. For the first time since Emily's funeral, he felt like maybe, just maybe, they were going to be okay. The diner was nearly empty when it happened. Rachel was refilling Thomas's coffee for the 4th time when Lily looked up at her, really looked at her. "Miss Rachel." "Yes, sweetie." "Can you be my new mommy?" The coffee pot stopped mid-pour. Rachel's face went white. Thomas felt the world tilt. "Lily, you can't..." But Lily wasn't done. She climbed out of the booth, walked right up to Rachel, and took her hand. "My mommy's in heaven, but Daddy's really sad. And I'm sad. And you make us not sad. So can you be my new mommy? Please." Rachel's eyes filled with tears, real tears that spilled over and ran down her cheeks. She looked at Thomas. He could see it in her face. The same pain he'd been carrying, the same grief. the same shattered pieces of a life that used to make sense. Rachel sank into the booth across from them, still holding Lily's hand. "Oh, sweetie, that's the kindest thing anyone's ever asked me. But Her voice broke. "I can't be your mommy." Lily's face crumpled. "Why not? Don't you like me? I like you so much. You're wonderful, but—" Rachel looked at Thomas, asking permission with her eyes. He nodded. "I had a little girl once. Her name was Sophie. She was 6. And she's with the angels now, too." Lily's eyes went wide. "You had a daughter." "I did. For 6 beautiful years. What happened to her?" The question was so innocent, so direct. Thomas would have intervened, but Rachel shook her head. "There was an accident. 2 years ago. A car accident. She was going to her grandma's house for the weekend. I didn't even get to say goodbye." Rachel's voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. "I kept her room exactly the way she left it. I still set a place for her at dinner sometimes. I know that sounds crazy, but I miss her so much." Lily climbed into the booth next to Rachel, without asking, without hesitation. She wrapped her small arms around Rachel's waist. "I'm sorry your Sophie's gone." Rachel broke, just completely broke. She pulled Lily close and sobbed. Not the quiet, controlled tears of someone trying to hold it together. Real, gasping sobs that shook her whole body. Thomas sat across from them, watching this stranger hold his daughter, and understood. Rachel wasn't just being kind to Lily. She was trying to save herself too. They stayed like that for a long time. Rachel crying into Lily's hair, Lily patting Rachel's back. Thomas sitting across from them with tears running down his own face. The cook appeared from the kitchen, saw what was happening, and quietly locked the front door, turning the sign to "Closed." He nodded at Thomas, then disappeared. When Rachel finally pulled away, her mascara was ruined and her eyes were red, but she was smiling, really smiling. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to fall apart like that." "Don't apologize," Thomas said. "Please don't." Lily was still holding Rachel's hand. "Do you have pictures of Sophie?" Rachel pulled her phone from her apron, opened the gallery with shaking hands. "This is her. This is my girl." Thomas leaned across the table. The little girl in the photo had blonde curls and green eyes and a gap-toothed smile. She was wearing a princess dress and holding a toy wand. "She's beautiful," Thomas said. "She looks like you." Everyone said that. Same smile, same stubborn chin. Rachel scrolled through more photos. Sophie on a swing. Sophie blowing out birthday candles. Sophie asleep with a book on her chest. I can't look at these most days. But today feels different. Lily studied each photo carefully. "She looks nice. I think we would have been friends." "I think so too." Rachel tucked her phone away. "Your mommy must have been pretty special to raise such a kind little girl. She was the best." Lily's voice was matter-of-fact. "She read me stories every night, and she sang songs, and she gave the best hugs. What was her name?" "Emily. Emily Chen." "That's a beautiful name." Rachel looked at Thomas. "You must miss her terribly." "Every second of every day," Thomas said. His voice was rough. "But I have to keep going. For Lily." "That's what she would have wanted." Rachel said it with such certainty. "Sophie would have wanted that for me too. But some days it's hard to remember why." They talked for another hour. About Emily. About Sophie. About grief and guilt and all the ways love doesn't end just because someone's gone. The cook brought out fresh coffee and a plate of cookies. He didn't say anything, just squeezed Rachel's shoulder and went back to the kitchen. Thomas learned that Rachel had been working at the diner for 18 months, that she'd quit her job as a teacher after the accident, that she couldn't be around children anymore, couldn't be in her classroom, couldn't face all those happy families. Until today. "I don't know why," Rachel said. But when Lily looked at me, something shifted. For the first time in 2 years, I didn't feel like I was drowning. You saved my daughter today, Thomas said. You made her smile. She hasn't smiled like that since... I know. Rachel's eyes met his, understanding passing between them. I know. When they finally stood to leave, Lily hugged Rachel one more time. Thank you for telling me about Sophie. And thank you for the pancakes. Anytime, sweetie. You come back and visit me, okay? Can we, Daddy? Can we come back? Thomas looked at Rachel, saw hope in her eyes. Fragile hope, but hope nonetheless. Yes, we can come back. He pulled out his wallet, left a $100 bill on the table. Rachel tried to protest. That's too much. It's not enough, Thomas said. Not even close. They walked to the door, but before they left, Thomas turned back. Rachel, would you want to have coffee sometime? Not here. Just as friends, people who understand. Rachel's eyes filled with tears again, but she was smiling. I'd like that. I'd really like that. Thomas drove home with Lily chattering in the back seat about the pancakes, about Rachel, about Sophie and heaven and whether their mommies were friends now. He let her talk, let the words pour out of her like water from a broken dam. When they got home, Lily ran straight to her room. Thomas found her sitting on her bed, holding the stuffed rabbit Emily had given her. Daddy? Yes, baby. Miss Rachel's really sad, like us. Yes, she is. Can we help her, like she helped us? Thomas sat down next to his daughter. This brave, beautiful little girl who had just lost everything and was still thinking about others. I think we can try. Would you like that? Yes, because that's what Mommy would do. She always helped sad people feel better. She did. And you're just like her. That night, Thomas called his mother-in-law, told her about the diner, about Rachel, about Lily's question. She cried, but they were good tears, healing tears. Emily would have loved that, she said. She always said kindness was the most important thing. I want to go back, Thomas told her. Not just to the diner, but to really living. For Lily, for Emily's memory. Then do it, and don't you dare feel guilty about it. Thank you for everything. Take care of our girl, Thomas, both our girls. He understood Emily would always be his girl, but there was room in his heart for more people. Room for friends who understood, room for healing, room for hope. Thomas started driving to Maplewood every Sunday. At first just for pancakes, then for lunch, then just to talk. Rachel and Lily formed a bond that surprised everyone. Rachel told stories about Sophie. Lily told stories about Emily. They compared notes on favorite books and best playground equipment and whether unicorns were real. Thomas watched his daughter come back to life. Slowly, carefully, but unmistakably. And he watched Rachel heal too. She smiled more, laughed more, started talking about going back to teaching someday, started living again. 3 months after that first visit, Rachel joined them for Thanksgiving. She brought Sophie's favorite pumpkin pie recipe. Lily helped her make it. They got flour everywhere, laughed until they cried, made a pie that was slightly lopsided but tasted perfect. When they sat down to eat, Lily insisted they set a place for Emily, and Rachel quietly set one for Sophie. Thomas said grace, thanked the universe for bringing them together, for giving them a second chance at family, at joy, at life. They weren't replacing anyone. Emily would always be Lily's mother. Sophie would always be Rachel's daughter. But they were learning that love doesn't have limits, that hearts can expand, that sometimes the family you need finds you in the most unexpected places. By the time Christmas rolled around, Rachel was part of their lives in 100 small ways. She taught Lily to bake cookies, helped Thomas pick out a Christmas tree, came to Lily's school play and cheered the loudest. She didn't replace Emily. She honored her. She talked about Lily's mother like she'd known her, kept her memory alive in ways that felt natural and right. And Lily taught Rachel how to live with loss, how to remember without drowning, how to love again without guilt. They formed their own kind of family, built on understanding and shared grief, and the knowledge that healing doesn't mean forgetting. It means finding a way to carry your loved ones with you, to let them be part of your joy instead of just your pain. A year after that first Sunday, Thomas and Lily took Rachel to visit Emily's grave. They brought flowers, Lily's drawing, Rachel's homemade cookies. They told Emily about their friendship, about how Rachel had saved them both, about how they were learning to be happy again. Lily put her hand on the headstone. "Mommy, this is Miss Rachel. She's our friend. I think you'd really like her. She makes good pancakes. Not as good as yours would have been, but pretty good." Rachel knelt down next to Lily. "Emily, I promise to take care of them, not because I'm trying to replace you, but because they deserve to be loved, and because you'd do the same for Sophie if you could." Thomas stood behind them. Two people who had saved each other, who had saved him, who had shown him that it was possible to move forward without moving on, to build a new life while honoring the old one, to let love in again. The question Lily had asked that day in the diner hadn't been about finding a replacement mother. It had been about finding connection, about recognizing someone who understood, about a child's instinct that told her this person could help them heal. Rachel didn't become Lily's new mother. She became something even more important, a friend, a guide, someone who knew the weight of loss and still chose to love anyway. Someone who showed them that grief and joy could coexist, that you could miss someone desperately and still laugh, still live, still hope. In a small-town diner in upstate New York, a little girl had asked a simple question. And in answering it, 3 broken people had found their way back to wholeness. If you've lost someone you love, leave a comment. You're not alone. And if this story touched your heart, please subscribe, because everyone deserves to know that healing is possible, that love doesn't end, and that sometimes the family you need is the one you choose.